What's going on, guys? I'm here with my good friend and fellow car enthusiast, LaFerrari.
Hey, buddy. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Sir, Louis was so gracious enough to invite us to his garage, and would love to kind of touch on some of your amazing cars and walk through some of the awesome collection we have behind us. Of course, we've got your special Venom F5.
Yes, we do.
In production right now.
So excited. Getting close, finally.
Getting close, yeah. A
lot of my passion for drive, for what I've achieved in life, started with the 1989 Lamborghini Countach. But this was the car this was the poster I had on my wall from about 8 years old. And when I first got that poster, I had never seen anything like this before in my life. You got to remember, this is pre-internet, and whatnot. So you only saw cars either in car magazines or on TV. And so the first time I ever saw this was in that poster there. And I honestly didn't even know what it was till one of my friends from school came over a few days later. And it's like, oh, that's the Lamborghini Countach. And at that age, you don't admit what you don't know. It's like, oh yeah, of course I know, duh. I had no idea what the hell it was. But anyway, this car really served as so much, not only inspiration for my passion for cars, but also my inspiration for life. At the time, I was on my grandparents' farm growing up. They were raising me, and we were not very well off financially at all whatsoever. I mean, we were on welfare. And this car represented a level of success in life that I really wanted to strive for. And I kind of just had this why not mentality. Like, if somebody else can achieve that, why not me? And finding this car was a real gem. This car is all original. It is a downdraft version, meaning that it's got the Weber downdraft carburetors. At the time, to bring these cars into the US, they had to be fuel injected. Well, the fuel injected cars had 40 horsepower less. They didn't quite have near as deep a rumble as the engine would produce with the Weber downdraft carburetors. So these were limited to pretty much European specs. This particular car came out of Dubai. When we found this car, 100% original, only had 3,200 miles on it. I've put at least about 4,000 miles on it myself. I drive it really, really hard. A lot of things about this car that people have said about it, the way it drives, the way it handles, the reliability. Some of that's true. A good portion of it's very overly exaggerated. A lot of these cars, the values were very, very low for a long period of time, so people didn't invest the level of maintenance that they should have. So there was a lot of deferred maintenance on these cars. So a lot of times when people would drive them, the suspension was shot, the gearbox needed to be serviced, the engine probably wasn't running really well. It's carbureted. Not a lot of guys know how to sync all the carburetors and spend the money to do that. But now that these cars have shot up so significantly in value, a lot of these guys are getting them out. Now they are spending the money on the maintenance, and they realize it wasn't that they were bad cars, they just were poorly maintained. And quite honestly, the collection we have here today is almost all completely attributed to my desire to finally make this a reality one day in my life. Next in the lineup, we had to bring some American muscle to the collection. But not only that, I mean, this is a really, really special car in its own right in so many ways. Obviously, it commemorates the Le Mans win of Ford over Ferrari. We've all seen the movie. I actually bought this car before that movie came out, so I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately on this car. But this is a phenomenal car. What I love about this car is really everything. It's very, very analog. I put this car, the driving experience and the analog driving experience of this car, very close to a Carrera GT, and that's not a comparison I've ever heard anybody else make. I owned a Carrera GT for a couple of years in our collection. The manual gearbox in this car is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it is really, really good. It's a car that every single time I get back in this car, I fall in love with it all over again. The driving experience is phenomenal. That big old supercharger on the V8. I know some guys put some Whipple blowers on them, and I get it. I think that's great. I think you're out of your mind to put 800 horsepower in this platform. Again, same thing, no nanny assist really in this car. At least it does have ABS because it's a modern car. But this car is already tail happy, and it will absolutely snap hook on you. I have snap hooked this car, by the way. Just with the 550 or so horsepower the car's got now. I can't imagine putting more on it, but I love the sound of the car, even the way it is. I've heard some guys put aftermarket exhaust on them. I've considered it, but there's something about this car that I just love it in its purest form. I feel like it's timeless. I feel like this is a car that could launch today, 20 years later. I mean, this is an 05. This car's 20 years old. And I feel like this is a design that works so well and is still so unique today. You can launch this car today, and I think it would still blow people's minds. It would be just as popular as it is today. Of course, you know, the way the doors open with the roof, it's super cool. Not very fun when some, you know what, person parks right next to you in a parking lot and you got to crawl out. It's kind of hard to look cool getting out of a car when you're crawling on your knees. We bought this car. It was in Columbus, Ohio. My wife and I flew there. She wanted to road trip this car home. I told her, you're out of your mind. That's a romantic idea that's going to be miserable in reality. And so we got there. Of course, there's no cargo space whatsoever, so we both had a backpack each, and we scooted the seats forward just enough where we could slide our back seats behind the driver and passenger seat. And we road tripped this car from Columbus, Ohio. That's about a 16-hour drive. We broke it up over 2 days, 8-hour driving. This car actually drives really, really well on the highway. Believe it or not, it's got a really compliant ride to it, especially considering how well the car still corners, because there's not a lot of body roll in corners, but the suspension, and again, for a 20-year-old car, we had an absolute blast road tripping this car across the highway. And it's the one car, because it represents so much of American history, and there's so much pride and heritage in this car. It's the one car that no matter what state you're in, everybody's giving you a thumbs up. Everybody loves to see this car. Immediately, they love you because you're the guy driving the car that represents so much of what we're proud of. So next up we have what, well, until the F80 was the most recent halo car from Ferrari, which is hard to believe that this car's now 11 years old. It's really kind of mind-boggling to think. And this car, the LaFerrari, was definitely a car that was on my list to have. I mean, this was kind of the ultimate of the ultimate, especially of the last 10, 15 years in terms of just from Ferrari, specifically from Ferrari. But this car was not on my list at the time I bought it. I bought this car about 1.5 years ago. At the time, a lot of guys were starting to buy up a lot of cars, trying to boost their profile with Ferrari, hoping to get elevated to a level that they could get an allocation of the F80. So as I was watching the market kind of happen, it started boosting demand for these cars, and up went the price. And they were up around $350,000 from where they had been just about a year before. So if we go back 2.5 years, where these cars were. And at the time, my thought was, this is a car that once the F80 comes out and they start getting on the streets, these prices are going to cool off. So I didn't want to buy one at that time, as I felt like they were a little overvalued at the moment. The F50 was really the car I was after next at that time, but there's only 349 of those, and getting right car, right deal, the whole thing on a car so limited production is very, very difficult. But I always said, if I was going to have a LaFerrari, there were some very specific things that I really wanted, which also makes them rare. There's only 499 of these, but there was only 50 ever done with the exposed carbon fiber roof. And once I learned that factoid, I knew I really wanted one with that exposed carbon fiber roof, because it only represented about 10% of the total production of this car. On top of that, because at the time they were speccing these cars, there really wasn't a whole lot of options on them. And a lot of the cars have the black interior with red piping. And don't get me wrong, it looks really, really cool, but it was just all black on the inside of that car. I'd sat in one before, and I just thought, you know, for a car this special, the interior just felt too basic, too plain, and too monotone in that all black. So I wanted the exposed carbon fiber roof with the red interior with black stitching. Sure enough, this car comes along, gets presented to me, and it being that rare, with those rare options that I really wanted, I went in, bit the bullet, bought this car, and I'm extraordinarily grateful I did, because some people love it, some people are not really sure what they think of the F80, and some people flat out hate it. Nonetheless, you can't deny the fact that these have shot up about another $1 million in value since then. So from a value perspective, I'm very glad I bought the car at the time that I did, even though at the time I thought I was overpaying. But what I have to say about this car, it's a 1,000 horsepower car, and it's 11 years old, but as insane as all that is, it's actually not only phenomenal, expect it to be a phenomenal driving car, and of course it is, but this is a car that my wife and I can go to dinner in. It's actually, and what blows my mind about this car, it's actually pretty comfortable to drive in, which means I'm able to put a lot of miles on this car, and I have since I bought the car. I bought it only had 1,800 miles on it at the time, which I bought this car about a year and a half ago. So in its roughly 10-year life, it only had 1,800 miles, and I think I've put another 3,000 on it just in the little over a year and a half that I've owned it, because it's such an easy car to live with, which is insane when you think about a supercar or halo car from Ferrari that only comes along every 10 years. It's supposed to be the maxed out version of everything that they offer, but in a car that you can still drive and live with and put a lot of miles on is really mind blowing. And at the end of the day, that's really cool. It's gone up in value, that's really cool, but this view of this car absolutely never gets old. So next up, we have one of the most special cars in our collection, and it's been a huge year for this car, but the F50. As I said, the year that I bought the LaFerrari, I really wanted an F50. These are two very, very expensive cars, so to buy them both in the same year was a big deal. It was not planned at all, but as you know, there's only 349 F50s ever. Of the 349, only 31 are in yellow. And listen, I love a red Ferrari as much as the next guy. They are cool, they are phenomenal, they are iconic. There's something about this particular car in yellow that just hits different. And the first time I ever saw a yellow F50, I just thought if I was to ever own one, and if I had the opportunity to be picky of a car that's already so limited, the dream would have been for a yellow one. This car presented itself. At the time, I was really not in the market to buy another multi-million-dollar car, but seeing this car, learning the history of this car, it came out of the Matsuda collection in Japan, which at the time, he was the largest collector of Ferraris anywhere in the world. This car's been featured in a lot of different magazines, books about his collection. This car was always featured in it. We're showing this car this year at Quail, and we just confirmed last week that of the 31 yellow F50s, this is the very first one to ever be painted in yellow. So it makes, the story of this car just continues to get better and better and better. We did have the interior fully restored on this car, had it done by Zanassi, so it was done with all the original material in it. Other than that, the car is still 100% original. Nothing else has been touched on it. And we've had a huge year with this car. We flew it over to Italy for the 30th anniversary of this car for the Ferrari cavalcade, and we went all through Tuscany in this car. My wife and I did. There was 22 other F50s there. That was the largest gathering of F50s in history. That was really, really cool. And Ferrari really knows how to put on a really nice cavalcade. I think the cavalcade lasted 3 or 4 days, and it was a phenomenal experience, a tremendous life experience. We road tripped this car 1,200 miles, because again, I'm a driver and I want to drive and experience these cars. I respect how everyone has different goals for what they're doing in life, but for me, I want to buy these cars and own them because I want the joy and thrill of driving them. I want to have that experience for them. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to live forever, and while I'm here, I want to enjoy the things that I've been able to acquire in life. That's the whole point of it. And then, you know, when the show's over, hey, another lucky guy will enjoy this car one day. But it's a phenomenal car. It's one I'm extremely proud to own in our collection, and it's definitely one that'll never leave. And I think it really embodies really all the things that I love of every car that we've owned, every car that we collect. The F50 truly checks every single one of those boxes. So last but not least, I feel like my car collection would not be complete without going back to my roots. My very first car when I was 17 years old, 1994 Z28 Camaro. We bought this car back a few years ago, kind of on a whim. I just felt like it's a car, it meant so much to me when I was younger, so much of my car collecting journey. Of course, at 17, this was the dream car for me, and tracked it down, bought it back. We completely redid the car, and actually sent it and had a concourse level paint job done on a 94 Z28. I'm pretty sure I'm the only guy that was ever crazy enough to ever do that. But I wanted the car to be absolutely perfect. I actually ended up spending more on the paint job than I did buying the car back. But we tracked it down, got it back, had it completely redone mechanically, paint job. The interior was already in pretty good shape, so we had to just kind of refresh some pieces of it. Dash a crack just from age, you know, sun beating down and whatnot. But it's so cool to have this car back in the collection, and it just kind of goes back to roots. I know that so much of the collection today is a lot of the European, you know, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and things like that. But at the end of the day, I was born and raised in Texas. I'm an all-American boy, and it doesn't get more all-American than a Z28 Camaro, 1994, my original car. My favorite thing about this car, absolute favorite thing about this car, and having it back in my collection, is this is the car I learned how to do donuts in at 17 years old. And I've got video of my son when he was 16 years old and his buddies learning how to do donuts in the exact same car I learned how to do donuts in. That to me is every car collector guy's dream to have, and I'm so grateful and proud to have that and make that part of my collection and a part of my whole collecting journey. And guys, I can't thank you enough for, number one, coming and visiting me, letting me share with you the cars that I'm so passionate about, and the engagement and the way that we've worked together. You guys have worked with me to help bring my car to fruition, my Hennessey Venom F5. I'm so excited. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my journey of collecting cars, and I can't thank you guys enough for taking this level of engagement with me as a customer.
Hennessey's awesome, and tuner school is awesome.